this section of the course, we are going to learn how you can create an AI-based chatbot in your React or Next.js application. So before we create our project, this part is purely optional. Since if you know how to create a Next.js project, you can create your Next.js project similar to what we have done in our previous section of the course. And once you are done with it, you have to install Bootstrap 5 in it. So let's create our project first using npx create next app. And we'll be naming our project as AI tools, since we'll be adding more things and more projects over the time in this project. So I think that's a meaningful name for this project. So let's create enter. It would ask us if we want to use TypeScript. Let's go with no. We will not be using ESLint. We will take the src directory, and we will not be using any experimental app directory right now. And let's go with the @ by default alias. So once our project has been created, let's go inside our project folder, clear the console, and let's start by running npm run dev. And also let's expand our project folder. Also, we have set up our project in previous video, so I won't be repeating those steps again over here. I will simply copy my js config file from the previous project over here to the new project and click on save. Also, I'll do same thing for my prettier rc configuration. I'll copy my prettier file and paste it to my new project. And let's close all the project windows. Next thing that we will be doing is we will clear the default styles. Let's remove the default styles and save. We will also remove the home module css files. Let's remove the content inside it. We can also delete this home module.css file and move it to trash. Going inside our pages folder, let's go to index.js and remove the import for our home module, and we'll also remove everything that's there inside our JSX. Click on save. Temporarily, we'll add an h1 tag which shows that the application is working fine. Let's write AI tools over here. We'll remove any additional imports that are there. So our application looks much cleaner and better right now with the minimal information that we need. Let's format the code. Click on save. Close all the windows. Let's go to _app.js over here also. We'll fix the import for the styles by removing @ and restarting our project once again. And let's see if the browser is working fine. So on localhost 3000 our application works pretty good. And let's see if there are any errors on the console. So our console is clean and we don't have any errors. So we are good to start up with this project, and I will now install Bootstrap 5 onto our project. And in order to do that, I'll go to Bootstrap 5's official website, and just below the introduction section in getting started, there is a download section. Over here, if I scroll down, I'll find the Bootstrap installation command. I'll copy this and simply I'll stop my server, paste the command over here and click on enter. This will install the dependencies. I'll clear my console and start the project once again in the development mode. Also, let's get back to our browser once again, and now go back to introduction section, and over here it says that we need to have this content width is equals to device width and initial scale is equals to 1. So let's copy this, but before that, this should be in the head. Just like how we have done it in the previous course video, we will be doing it again. And at the same time, we will be adding the imports for our CSS and JavaScript file. So let's get back to our code. Over here in our _app.js file, let's import our Bootstrap styles first by going into Bootstrap dist and CSS and using Bootstrap CSS over here. Let's save this. And now we have to import our JavaScript files. For that, we will be using use effect. Import the use effect from React if it's not imported. Let's call the use effect. We'll pass no dependencies so that it runs only once when the component is initialized on the client side. And over here, we'll use import and import Bootstrap JavaScript file by going to Bootstrap dist js and inside this bootstrap.bundle. With that, this is done. Let's save this and see if our browser is working fine. So you can see that the font has changed, means that the Bootstrap is now working fine. We can also inspect this to see if there are any errors on the console. So we see no errors on the console, and if I inspect my element, it also works fine. So let's close this. And now let's get back to our Visual Studio Code again. And over here under src, let's create a folder called container. We'll take a different approach from the one that we did last time. We'll create two. One is the container that we'll be using as the parents for our child components, and we'll be creating another folder and called it components. And now inside container, let's create another folder, layout. And inside this layout folder, let's create another file, layout.jsx. We will also have a header in this application in order to navigate. So let's create a header over here and create a JSX file for it as well and call it header.jsx. And inside layout.jsx, let's create a React functional component. And inside this div, we will be passing the children props coming in from our app_app.js. And on this div, we will be giving the class of type container, that is the bootstrap parent class. And inside our _app.js, import our layout over here. And now we will wrap our component inside the layout. So let's do that. Let's remove this semicolon. Click on save and let's see if the browser is working fine. So over here you can see that our UI looks good and we have some nice padding of container over here. Let's get back to our Visual Studio Code. And inside our header.jsx, let's create another React functional component. And we will use a header from Bootstrap 5 in order to show a nice header on our screen. And on Bootstrap 5's official website, if you go under components and select navbar, you will find a list of navbars they have provided as a sample, and we can select any navbar and customize it according to our need. For now, simplicity, I will be selecting the most simple one that is there, which is this one. You will find all the code in my GitHub repository, so you don't need to worry about finding the exact match. Let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. Instead of using header div, we'll replace it with our navbar, format our code, and since we don't need some information that is disabled, pricing and features right now, we'll be simply deleting them. Also, we don't need this button for toggle, so let's remove this as well, and instead of navbar, you can write AI tools and click on save. Now let's change this class is equals to and replace it with class name is equals to. Let's do that and click on save. Over here on our anchor tag, we'll be using Next.js, so let's remove this href over here and here as well. And we can replace this anchor tag with span for now. Similarly for our home page. Click on save, format our code and save it again. So now we need to add this header to our layout so that our header appears on all the pages that we will be showing in our Next.js application. Alright, and in order to do that, first of all, let's import our header over here inside our layout. And now we will call this header just before our children, since we want to show our header at the top. We'll format our code and click on save. Now let's check our UI on the web browser. So it looks good to start. We have our buttons over here as well as we have our content over here, but it would be good if we could have some cursor pointers over here instead of just simple text selection, as well as if we had some margin over here just above our content. So let's do that now. Over here, let's change our navbar to dark and change the background to primary. This looks much better right now, but still it would be good if we had our header scaled to full width. So let's do that. And to do it, go to our layout.jsx and we will move our header out of this container. Before we do that, let's use fragment. Let's format our code and move this header out of the container. And let's click on save now. Now our UI looks much better. It's scaled to full width and we'll add some margin over here to our container. So with our container, we will add margin top 5. Click on save, and this seems alright, and our UI is clean. So that's good to start up with this video. And in our next video, what we are going to do is we are going to use OpenAI's API key and start the setup for our OpenAI. So see you guys in the next video.